Valencia is Spain's third largest city and it sits on the eastern coast. It is approximately 3.5 hours from Montserrat or approximately 4 hours from Barcelona by car. We spent most of our day in Montserrat and arrived in Valencia in the late afternoon. Therefore, this video will highlight an evening and one full day in Valencia. Welcome to Sarah's Scuba and Travel channel. Let's jump right in with where to stay in the city with such little time. We found a cozy guest house with 9 rooms located right next to the St. Mary's Cathedral, or what is also known as the Valencia Cathedral, in Plaza de la Reina. This was a great central location to many of the city's highlights. The rooms were modest, but they delivered breakfast to our room for free in the morning with our selection from the evening before. We enjoyed a homemade breakfast cake with coffee and tea. It was delicious. I will put a link to the hotel in the description below. The day we arrived, there was an artisan market set up in Plaza de la Reina, which sits in front of the main entrance to the cathedral. We took a quick stroll through once we dropped off our luggage, and then we made our way to the cathedral. We were able to enter for free as they were preparing for the solemn grand procession of their Corpus Christi celebrations that evening. The cathedral was consecrated in 1238 and contains a blending of the Valencian Gothic, Romanesque, and Baroque architecture. One of the highlights at this cathedral is that it houses what many believe to be the Holy Grail from the Last Supper, and a side chapel that you can see during your visit. When you enter the cathedral, the side chapel is immediately to your right. Since preparations for the parade were underway, I tried to keep my distance and do a quick walkthrough, appreciating a small part of the cathedral. During my exploration, I was able to witness the preparations of the world's largest monstrance. It is known as the Monstrance of the Poor. We snuck out of the cathedral as the families were being called to line up and were able to witness the processional through the streets. Prior to leaving our accommodations, we asked for a recommendation for tapas, and we were directed to Tapas Boatea. To our surprise, the processional was going right past the restaurant. We enjoyed a variety of tapas while watching the processional pass by. The crowning moment was the end of the parade when the monstrance made its way through the street. It is clear to see how it is the largest in the world, measuring over 13 feet tall and roughly 5 feet wide. It is crafted from more than 1,300 pounds of silver, nearly 18 pounds of gold, platinum, and hundreds of pearls and precious stones. The monstrance is adorned with 159 detailed sculptures depicting saints, biblical scenes, and the Eucharist miracles, with the Virgin of the Forsaken presiding over the center. As it was passing by, the bells of the Real Parroquia de los Santos Juanes Valencia rang out. The other building you see there is the Central Market of Valencia. If you are interested in visiting, it is open every day but Sunday and closes by 2 or 3 p.m. or when the vendors sell out. Okay, let's jump into the first full day in Valencia. We started our morning pretty leisurely, as is common in Spain. Don't expect places to be open or operating before 10 a.m. unless you're looking for breakfast or visiting a market. Our first activity for the day was one of our favorite experiences during our month-long journey through Spain, and that was an 11 a.m. cooking class. We arrived at the cooking school to be greeted by our chef and a table set with aprons, snacks, and refreshments. First, we were off to the market across the street. The chef took us on a tour of the market and introduced us to many of the produce items, spices, and ingredients we would be using in our dishes for the day. We didn't actually buy anything during our visit, as the school had already purchased the ingredients and started preparations on them prior to our arrival. It was still interesting to walk through the market though. I always enjoy these opportunities as it is so different from the mass production grocery stores that we have in the US. When we arrived back at the cooking school, the chicken was already cooking for our Valencia paella, the best paella in my opinion, because the only protein it contains is chicken. No fishy tasting rice. We washed our hands and settled in donning our aprons, helping ourselves to sangria and jamon and other treats while we waited for instruction. First up, we needed to cut the green beans and clean out the lima beans for the paella. Handfuls of beans were passed around the table and the group got to work. Now, these are not the same kinds of green beans and lima beans that we get in the US. The lima beans or butter beans are large, flat, white beans, not the small little white beans that we typically experience. And the green beans were very long and flat. I took great pleasure in this activity as my husband does not cook, and he was forced to help and learn some skills during our class. Next, the chef provided instructions on cutting the potatoes and onions for our Spanish omelets, and we got to work sharing the potatoes and onions around the table and slicing them up. Again, my husband got to chopping. I loved it. Finally, we needed to beat the eggs for our cake batter. The bowl of eggs was sent around the table with everyone getting an opportunity to let out some pent-up anger or frustration, while others zested oranges for the cake. As you can see, my husband needed some extra individualized instruction from the chef on how to beat the eggs. I hope he was taking notes for future cooking opportunities at home. Okay, so one trick that I did learn from the cooking class that I will share with you that I thought was really helpful is for baking. You want to wet your parchment paper with water before putting it in the pan. This allows the paper to mold to the pan and it makes it much easier to pour in your batter. You're welcome. Our cakes went in the oven and we huddled around the massive paella pan to start working on our group-sized paella. Each of us was instructed on adding the different ingredients that we had worked on prepping as a group. Everyone got an opportunity to assist, and check out the size of these spatulas that people were using to begin cooking the green beans with the chicken. They were massive for this pan. Eventually, the chicken and green beans were moved to the sides and sofrito was added in the pan along with the spices. Next came the tomato sauce and eventually the lima beans. Everyone got the opportunity to add ingredients, stir, and assist in the cooking process. It was a great interactive and collaborative experience. Finally, rice and liquid were added and we let it simmer away. While the paella was cooking, the group got to work on cooking the omelets. A Spanish omelet is very different than an omelet you get in the US. Spanish omelet contains eggs, potatoes, and sometimes onions, which can be a controversial topic. I like mine with onions, and that's how we made it in the class. Once the paella and omelets were ready, it was time to sit down and enjoy our labor. The staff plated the food for us and offered wine with our meal. Everything was so good. We ended our meal enjoying our cake topped with leche moringa ice cream and a glass of Baronea de Torres Mistela Moscatel, which is a sweet dessert wine made in Valencia. I'm telling you, this experience was amazing. There are tons of opportunities to take pictures during the class, but the school also takes a group picture for you and prints it in the back of your diploma along with the recipes for the paella and sangria and a link to more recipes to take home with you. You can see my husband was thrilled receiving recognition for his newly acquired cooking skills. He is a big jokester. He enjoyed every minute of this experience, and I hope you do too. For more information and booking your own experience, please see the tour link in the video description below. At this point, we were stuffed and feeling pretty good after all the beverage tastings, so we made our way back to our hotel for a little siesta during the hot part of the day. Please let me take a quick break to share with you the international travel log that I created. This log allows you to quickly capture your daily adventures without long journaling sessions at the end of the day. There is a place to record your bucket list travel goals and a map to track your travels. The log includes 50 entries, each containing a mementos page to visually capture your memories. For more information and to order your copy, please see the link in the description below. After our naps, we enjoyed a self-guided walking tour that you can easily complete on your own as well. We meandered through the beautiful old streets as we made our way to Torre de Serenos, which is one of the 12 gates in the city that formed the ancient city wall at the end of the 14th century. You can pay a small fee to enter the gate and experience the different levels and getting great views of the city. The towers served as a defensive structure as well as a symbol of prestige and growth in the medieval Valencia. Between the 16th and 19th centuries, the towers were used as a prison for nobles and knights. During the Spanish Civil War, they safeguarded masterpieces from the Prado Museum. On the northeast side of the gate, you can see the beautiful views of the Torrilla Garden. I felt like this visit was worth the fee and climb, and you don't have to spend a long time here if you don't want to. Next, we headed back the same way we came and strolled past the Jardin de la Generalitat, eventually entering the Plaza de la Virgen. Immediately in the square, you will see the Torre Fountain with the back of the Valencia Cathedral at the end of the square. After admiring the fountain, make your way through the Basilica of Our Lady of the Forsaken. This is a 17th century sanctuary dedicated to the city's patron saint. It is beautiful inside. Services were being held at the time of our visit, so we took a seat in the back to take a moment to enjoy the sanctuary before leaving. Nearby, we stumbled upon the Centro Arqueológico de la Moena, This was not originally on my list, but one of those interesting finds along the way that travel provides. You can see down into the ruins through the reflection pool outside of the building, but I think it's worth paying the small fee to enter and experience the museum on your own. Valencia was shaped by Roman, Moorish, and Christian rule. The remains date back to the very foundation of Valencia by the Romans in the 2nd century BC. The museum contains relics not only of ancient Valencia, but also of the Visigoth, Moorish, and medieval periods. This is considered one of the best archaeological centers in Europe and definitely worth visiting, especially if you have not visited Zaragoza. When ready, make your way towards the cathedral. You will pass Casa Punto de Gancho 1906 on your left. In front of you, you will see the Arco de la Calle de la Barchea, connecting what is today the Servicio Diocesano de Archivos Parroquiales de Valencia and the cathedral. The arch used to be the bridge linking the Archbishop's Palace and Cathedral for easy access to both. Walk down Carrer del Palau a little way and you will find a little fountain with Palau de Marques de Campo in the back of the square. We did not go inside, but this is an elegant 19th century stately home where the city museum is housed, containing various collections of art. If this interests you, you might want to add it to your visit. Okay, back to the cathedral with a walk through Plaza de la Reina past the El Miquelet bell tower to Plaza de Lope de Vega. Here there are two places that I want to highlight. First, you will find La Finca Más Estrecha de Europa, which used to be a 107 centimeter wide building with a jewelry store on the bottom and the family's living quarters on top. The inside walls have been demolished and only the outside facade remains. I thought it was worth seeing. We actually had a hard time spotting it at first because it's so thin. The second highlight in this square is Abanicos Bibenca, where you can purchase hand-painted fans. They are not cheap, but they are good quality and gorgeous. I don't buy a lot of souvenirs, so this was my one treat to take home with me from our travels through Spain. Next, we made our way to La Lonja de la Seda, which was near where we were the night before. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and was built between 1482 and 1533. This group of buildings was originally used for trading in silk. There's a small fee to enter if you want to explore the buildings and the orange tree courtyard. Across the street, you will find Basilica del Sagrado Corazón de Jesus. It was built in the late 19th century on the site of a former Jesuit church. It is beautiful inside and worth a walk through if you're in the area. From here, we made our way to Plaza Redonda. This is a famous round square circular plaza from 1840. It features a central fountain ringed by a 3-story curved building housing artisan shops, vendors, and tapas. At this point, we were done walking around and we were still pretty content from our cooking class. However, we wanted a little treat. So we made our way back towards Plaza de la Reina and stopped at Horchateria Santa Catalina for some churros and chocolate with nice cold horchata. This is one of the most famous and oldest horchaterias in the city with 2 centuries of tradition. It was a great end to the self-guided walking tour. There's one more stop you could add to your tour or as an attraction for another day, and that is Palacio de Marqués de Dos Aguas. This is the 5th century manor with an 18th century remodel that houses the National Museum of Ceramics and Decorative Arts. We were visiting on a Monday and unfortunately it was closed on Monday, so I just appreciated it from the outside. There is so much more to see in Valencia, we didn't even get to the coast. Or the Science Museum at the City of Arts and Sciences complex. You can easily add more days to your stay if you're interested. If you have any other suggestions for restaurants, attractions, or activities in Valencia, please post them in the comments below to help other travelers. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit that like button. If you would like to support future productions, you can donate using the Super Thanks button or buy me a snack using the link in the description below. You can also follow me on Facebook, join the Facebook group, and follow me on Instagram for more content.